What's up guys, King Richard bringing you my ESO Alpha Male Stamina Sorcerer build. There's a few ways to run this build. One is with two-hander bow, sword and board two-hander, and dual wield two-hander. We'll go over every way possible to run this build. This is a werewolf build, so you want to get that lycanthropy if you don't have it already. Mundus Stones, Thief, and the Shadow. The reason why we have two Mundus Stones is because we're running Twiceborn Star. We'll get into the gear sets in a second. Maximum stamina 30k, maximum health 24k, weapon damage 28k, unbuffed. Weapon crit 53%, and that is with the Thief and the Shadow Mundus. So that is unbuffed stats. They get a lot higher when you buff up. Actually, I'll buff up for you. 3.2k, almost 3.3k weapon damage. With a ton of crit damage. This build does really good in PvE and PvP. 2k stamina recovery. Let's go ahead and look at the gear sets. For gear sets, Twiceborn Star, 5 pieces. Chest, belt, boots, legs, gloves, all divines. You want all divines on all 7 pieces. If you can get that, that's going to help your Twiceborn Star. Mundus Stones. Having 2 Mundus Stones with all divines helps out a lot. That's what makes this build work really, really well. Endurance, really cost effective. You don't need agility to make this build work. You can go with all robust endurance, slot weapon damage as your enchant on all your jewelry. 2 pieces Engine Guardian. You want to use 1 light, 1 heavy if possible, so you can get your Undaunted metal bonuses. And in Maelstrom weapons, we have a Maelstrom bow and a Maelstrom 2H. Any Maelstrom 2H works. The axe is really good, and so is the sword. I really don't like them all much, but the axe and sword get the job done. Now, if you want to run sword and board, slot a Maelstrom sword and a Maelstrom shield. If you want to run dual wield, Maelstrom axe, Maelstrom dagger, Maelstrom sword, dual wield, any Maelstrom weapon. You want to have Maelstrom weapons because you're going to get the most benefits from this. The 2H gives you increased weapon damage just for having it, and it also gives a dot to your crit rush, which is really good. And then the Maelstrom bow increases your volley damage by 161 per tick. So these hit really hard, and it ticks every 0.5 seconds. So you do a ton of damage with this, and it also gives you an additional 189 weapon damage overall. Now, getting into our abilities. Bow bar. Arrow barrage. This is going to go hand in hand with the Maelstrom bow. This works really well in PvP and PvE. I'm going over the bow setup first, and then I'll do sword and board and dual wield after. Crit surge. You want to have this on at all times. This is your main survivability as a stamina sorcerer. You don't really need rally if you have crit surge. Trust me, it works as long as you use it properly. Boundless Storm. This is going to give you increased physical and spell resistance, and it's going to give you a 6-second movement speed bonus of 40%. You don't use this for the damage. It does take Nightblades out of stealth, but you really want to use it for the movement speed and also the spell and physical resistance bonuses. Resolving Vigor. This is another healing ability. If you ever get in trouble, just pop this, do a couple dodge rolls. By the time this thing runs out, you're at full health. This is really good to keep you alive. Bound armaments on both of your bars, and then your ultimate is going to be Energy Overload. You need to master your overload bar. I usually put Caltrops, Evil Hunter, Crit Surge, Shuffle, and Bound armaments on my overload bar. But you can set it up however you want, but you need to master this because buffs that usually go on these bars right here, I put on my overload bar, like Shuffle, Evil Hunter, and Caltrops. Our 2H, Wrecking Blow, is your main DPS ability. Smack people, Wrecking Blow, slide back a little bit, charge up a crit rush, execute. Good game, good night. Number 2, Crit Rush. This is your gap closer. This is also going to help you with your crit hills. This is a 100% guaranteed crit unless you're fighting somebody with damage shields. If you ever get low, just take a step back or streak through them and then crit to them and crit rush to them, and you'll get a ton of health back. Executioner, this is going to boost all of your two-handed abilities DPS for low health targets for having it slotted, which is the main reason you have it. And it also is really good to execute on people with low health. Streak, this is going to give you a quick 2-second CC 1.5 seconds, basically 2 seconds. And this will buy you time and create distance for your critical rush. So streak through them, crit rush into them, charge that wrecking blow, crit rush again, execute, however you need to get the job done. Bound armaments on both of your bars, of course, and then flawless Dawnbreaker as your ultimate. That's going to increase your weapon damage. Now, that is the bow two-hander setup. If you wanted to run this as a sword and board, all you have to do is slot your Maelstrom sword. And if you don't have these Maelstrom weapons, you want to work towards them. Trust me. Slot your Maelstrom shield. And then the abilities you want to use are going to be Heroic Slash. There. You then move Crit Surge to your 2H bar. And then you can slot Streak or Reverberating Bash on your sword and board. If you're open world, I highly recommend keeping Streak on your bar. That's going to help you get out of situations, and it's also going to give you that stun when you need it. But if you're dueling, slot Reverberating Bash on your sword and board for a hard CC. But you want to keep that critical surge on your bar because that's your main healing. So animation canceling with Heroic Slash, get the job done. And that's the bar setup. And then overload, your overload bar stays the same. However, you want to swap your overload bar to your 2H bar. That never works for me. Overload bar to your 2H bar, and then you want to slot your pack leader transformation. This is going to give you a ton of stamina recovery having your bars set up like this. And then after you tank somebody out long enough, all you have to do is pop into your pack leader and go to work. With that slotted, you get 2200 stamina recovery, and that's without the Serpent Mundus. Now, if you went Serpent and Warrior, which is something you can also do, you would get about 2800 stamina recovery and over 3k weapon damage on your sword and board and your 2H bar. But I like to run Shadow and Thief. It works really good. So that's basically how you run this setup with sword and board. Now, dual wield. If you want to run this setup with dual wield, what you need is Still Tornado. That is key. Keep Streak there. You want to still tornado people down. That's your main AoE DPS. And whenever I use dual wield, it's usually in a group when we're taking on larger numbers and we need that really hard hitting AoE DPS. Slot your Maelstrom weapons, streak through them, still tornado. What changes here is instead of using the werewolf transformation, you want to go with power overload on this bar, and then you want to slot an ability like Meteor on your 2H bar. So usually what I do is I Wrecking Blow, I get the 20% damage increase, I drop a Meteor, I streak through whatever didn't get stunned by the Meteor, and I start spamming my Still Tornado to try to take out the boot, and it works really well. I've done it plenty of times, and that's basically the setup for this Stamina Sorcerer build. I think I covered just about everything except the champion tree. Now, 20 into the Warlord, you only need 6%. Once you get 6%, the returns start to weaken, and it's not really worth it. So 6% in a Warlord is good enough. You want 100%, 100 in a Mooncalf. You want 25% stamina recovery. You want at least 40 in the Tumbling to get that 10% on dodge roll. That's going to go hand in hand with your medium armor. Blade Expert, this is going to help your DPS. Now, I forgot to say, Bound Armaments increases your heavy attacks by 11%, and it also gives you maximum stamina. And if you get Blade Expert, which you should be using blades, I really like swords over most. This is going to give you an extra 10%, extra 11%, so that's 22% increased heavy damage with swords and daggers. So that really helps you a lot when you're charging up those heavy attacks. On average, I'm hitting for 20k heavy attacks with this setup. Like I said, this is a build you can run Maelstrom Arena with. You can PvP with it. You can use this build to get the job done. Precise Strikes, I got 59 into that, 13 into Piercing, and 58 into Mighty. You can change that up however you see fit. 20 into Block Expertise, 60 in Hardy, 60 in Elemental Defender, so you can unlock the Unchained passive, and then 21 into Quick Recovery. Now, this build is very similar to a buddy of mine. His name is Fengrush. I'm going to link his channel down below. Go check it out. But that's basically the build. This is my spin on it. And if I come up with anything new with this build, any updates or anything, I'll be sure to fill you guys in. Catch the build live, twitch.tv/KingRichard15. Thanks for tuning in. I'm out of here. Peace.